Hello guys, good to see you back. Once again, I am back with a new project related animation. And today in this project we are going to build this beautiful animated star background using JavaScript. As you can see, there are a lot of stars in this background and all the stars blinking differently. And then we have this circle, and inside this circle we have a text, welcome to our page. And this text is floating above this circle, and all the stars blinking randomly. And if I reload this page, and after reload this page, as you can see, randomly it changes the position of the star. If I reload it again, as you can see, again it changes the position of this star randomly, and all the stars are blinking randomly. So this is what we are going to build in this project. But before we start our coding, let me introduce you something. This project is part of this course, CSS and Web Animation. If you want to learn CSS, SVG, JavaScript and GSAP animation in a single course, then this course is for you. These courses come with 24 hours on-demand video, 194 downloadable resources and lifetime access. It is the new, fresh and organized course on Udemy about CSS animation. This course will come with 14 different sections. Here we are going to learn transition-based animation projects, CSS keyframe-based animation projects, JavaScript DOM-based animation projects, SVG animation projects, GSAP animation projects. Also, we are going to learn all the basic about it. It is the most complete course about CSS animation, and till today it's come with more than 60 plus projects. If you are interested to learn, I will provide the link at my description. So let's get started. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code Editor. So finally, we are in my Visual Studio Code Editor, and as you can see in my current working directory, I already create index.html file, style.css file and script.js file. And now I'm going to link style.css file with this HTML document. So I'm going to type link, and here I'm going to pass style.css. Then inside the body tag, I'm going to insert the script.js file. So I'm going to type script tag, script. Then as a source, src source, I'm going to pass script.js. And I'm going to save this file. After save this file, I'm going to jump into the body section. Inside the body tag, here I'm going to take section tag, section. Then inside this section tag, I'm going to take a h2 tag, h2. And here I'm going to type welcome to our. Then here I'm going to use br tag, br. Here I use br tag because I want to break the line. Then inside the h2 tag, I'm going to take a span tag, span. Then inside the span tag, here I'm going to type welcome to our page. And I'm going to save this file. After save this file, if I show you my browser, this is how our web page look like now. Now we need to style this section. We need to style this text. So for that, we need to jump into the style.css file. Then at first here, I'm going to import a font, and our font name is Poppins. So I import this Poppin fonts. After that, I'm going to use universal selector. So I'm going to type star. Then inside the curly braces, first I'm going to define margin to this page. Margin from all of the direction 0. Then I'm going to define padding, and also all of the direction I want to use padding 0. Then I'm going to use box sizing. Box sizing border box. After that, I'm going to define the font family. So I'm going to type font family. Here I'm going to use Poppins font. So inside this single quotes, I'm going to type Poppins, Poppins, and it's come from sans serif font family, sans serif. Next, I'm going to select the body tag, body, and here inside the curly braces, I'm going to use property called overflow hidden. And I'm going to save this file. After save this file, let's style the section tag. Now I'm going to select this section tag using its tag name. So I copy the section tag and I'm going to select the section tag in my style.css file. Then after that, inside the curly braces, the first property I'm going to use display, and I want to make it flex. After that, justify content center. Then I am going to align this item, align items also center. Then I'm going to define height. Here I'm going to define height 100 viewport height. After that, I'm going to define background color. Background, and for this background, I'm going to use hashtag 222 dark gray color. And I'm going to save this file. After save this file, if I back to my browser, this is how our page look like now. Now, to order to create this circle around the text, we will use the before pseudo element of this section tag. So here I'm going to type section colon before. Then inside the curly braces, the first property I'm going to use content. I want to create a blank content. Content equal to content is a blank content. After that, I'm going to define the position. Position, I want to define position absolute. Then I'm going to define width. Width, here I'm going to define width 30 viewport width. So according to viewport area, it's going to change the circle size. Then I'm going to define height. Also 30, it's VW not H. 30 viewport width. Here I use similar height and width to make it square. After that, I'm going to define the border. Border, and I want 5 VW border, and I want solid border, solid, and our border color is, I'm going to use this blue color variant for the border. After that, I'm going to define border radius. Border radius, here I'm going to pass 50%. Then I'm going to save this file, but before I save this file, I did a mistake. It's a wrong spelling, it's before, BE. Then I'm going to save this file and back to my browser. And if I back to my browser, this is how our border look like. After that, we need to add little box shadow. For that, here I'm going to type box shadow, and I'm going to use a value, this box shadow value, and I'm going to save this file. After save this file, this is how our circle look like now with this box shadow. After that, I'm going to style this text, this H2 tag. For that, let's back to the Visual Studio Code, and this time I'm going to target H2 tag, H2. Then inside the curly braces, the first property I'm going to use position, and I'm going to make the position absolute. Then I'm going to define font size, and here I'm going to define font size 8 VW, viewport width. Then I'm going to define color, and I want to make it color fully white, so I use this same color code FFF. After that, I'm going to define font weight, and I want little lighter font, so I'm going to type 400. Then I'm going to define text align center. Also I'm going to define little line height. Here I'm going to pass line height 2 em, z index, and I'm going to pass 5 here, z index 5. Next I'm going to transform this text. I want to skew this text little bit, so to type transform property, transform, and here I'm going to type, and here I'm going to use skew value, skew y minus 7 degree DEG. Then I'm going to save this file and back to the browser. Now this is how our text look like. Welcome to our page. Now you can see our text is center of the circle. Also we skew the text at minus 7 degree. And we need to add some text shadow. So let's back to the Visual Studio Code, and here I'm going to use the property called text shadow. So I'm going to type text, and here I'm going to use this width, this text shadow value, and I'm going to save this file. After save this file, if I back to my browser, this is how our text look like now. Basically here I step by step increase this text shadow value. If I show you, as you can see, first we use 1 pixel, then 2 pixel, then 3, then 4, then 5. And here we use light gray color for the text shadow. Now let's work on the span tag, which contain page. For that, I'm going to select h2. Inside the h2 tag, I want to select this span tag. So I'm going to use its tag name span. Then inside the curly braces, the first property I'm going to use font weight. Here I'm going to use little bolder font, so I'm going to type 700. Then I'm going to define the font size. And here I'm going to define font size 3em, little bigger than previous one. Next, I'm going to define the text shadow. And here I'm going to pass multiple text shadow. So I paste this code and I'm going to save this file. After save this file, if I back to my browser, this is how our page look like. Now it's look too big. It's look too big for this website. I think we need to reduce the size. We need to reduce the size of this circle, also the text content. So let's experiment with that. So instead of using, let me show you. First, I'm going to decrease the size of this before element. Here I'm going to make it 20 VW. Then I'm going to decrease the size of this border. I'm going to make it 3 VW. After that, I'm going to decrease the font size. Here I'm going to make it 5 VW. Then also I'm going to decrease the line height and I'm going to use 1.5 em. Next, I'm going to decrease the font size. Here I'm going to use 2em font. Let's save the file and see how it's look like. After save this file, if I back to my browser, this is how it's look like. Now it's look perfect. Now I think it's look pretty cool for this example. Otherwise, in our previous video, it's look too big for this example. Now we need to work on animation. We need to work on floating animation. So we are going to create the keyframe for that. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code. So here, at first I'm going to type @keyframe. Keyframes. Then our keyframe's name is floating because it's a floating animation. So I'm going to type floating. Floating, then inside the curly braces, at 0% of duration, with that at 100% of duration, I want to apply transform property. Transform. Here type skew y minus 7 degree. With that, I want to apply another property, translate y minus 20 pixel. Then I'm going to duplicate this section and at here I'm going to type at 50% of duration. At first I'm going to, at 50% of duration, I want to change the translate y value. I'm going to make it positive, make it 20 pixel, and I'm going to save this file. After save this file, I'm going to call this animation. So I copy the animation name floating and I'm going to jump into the h2 tag, this selector, and here I'm going to call animation property. Animation. First we need to provide the animation name, which is floating. Then we need to define the animation time. Here I'm going to pass 5 seconds. Then we need to provide the animation direction, which is in out. After that, we need to provide the iteration count, and I want to run this animation for infinite time, so I'm going to type infinite, and I want to set this file. After set this file, if I back to my browser, this is how our animation look like. And if you want to make this animation more faster, yes, you can. Just you need to reduce the animation duration time. If I make it 3 seconds and then save this file and back to the browser, now you can see this is how we can increase the animation speed. So this is the first part of this project. And the next part of this project, we are going to creating the start, and also we are going to working on JavaScript. So thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for the next part. So at the previous part of this tutorial, we work on this floating animation, text floating animation. Now we are going to create the star. We are going to create the star randomly. So let's back to the JavaScript file. So I am in my Visual Studio Code editor, and from here I'm going to open script.js file. At first we need to select this section tag, but for that we need to declare a variable let, and our variable name is section. let section equal to document dot query selector. Then inside the round braces, inside the single quotes, I want to target this section tag. So I'm going to pass the tag name section and semicolon to end this line. After that, I'm going to declare a variable, another variable, let, and our variable name is j. Let j equal to, it's assigned with 0. And next I'm going to create a while loop and set a condition. While j less than 200. While j less than 200, then inside the curly braces I want to create the star. So here I want to create star, so I'm going to declare another variable let, and our variable name is star. Star equal to document dot, here I'm going to create element dot create element. Then inside the round braces, inside the single quotes, I want to create I element, I, and semicolon to end this line. After that, we need to create some variables that we need later to create the stars. Here I'm going to declare another variable let x. Let x equal to math dot floor. Then inside the round braces, here I'm going to use math dot random method. Math dot random. Then inside the round braces, and I want to multiply with window dot inner width, and semicolon to end this line. And I want to satisfy. Window dot inner width return the width of this browser window, and it returning pixel value. And then we take the value and multiply with math dot random value. Next, we convert this value into integer using float method. Next, I'm going to type star dot style dot left equal to, inside the backticks, I'm going to use $sign. Then inside the curly braces, I'm going to pass the variable called x pixel, and semicolon to end this line. And then I'm going to duplicate this section, and I'm going to change the variable name x to y, and also we need to change window dot inner height, and I'm going to replace x with y. Then instead of left, I'm going to use top value, top. Next, we need to create the width and height of the star. For that, I'm going to define another variable let, and our variable name is size. Let size equal to math dot random function, random, and I'm going to multiply with, here I want to multiply it with 4, and semicolon to end this line. And then we will use this size to set the height and width. At first, I'm going to define width of the star, so I'm going to type star dot style dot width equal to, inside the backticks, then I'm going to use $sign, and inside the curly braces, here I'm going to addition 1 with the size, and we need to pass the value in pixel px, and semicolon to end this line. You can notice here we addition with 1 because sometime math.random returns 0, and if I multiply 0 with 4, also it's going to return 0. So if we directly pass only the size, in some case it can return 0. That's why here we plus 0 with 1. So the minimum value it pass, it's 1 pixel. And if we pass 0, that's not good for our project. To avoid this situation, we just use 1 value here. Then we need to do the same thing for height. So I duplicate this line, and I'm going to replace, and here I'm going to replace width with height. So now we have the position of the star and dimension of the star. And now we need to append the stars in our section. For that, here I'm going to type section dot append child method, append child. Inside the round braces, I'm going to pass the star, and semicolon to end this line. Also, we need to continue this loop, so I'm going to increment the j variable, j plus plus. Until j value become 200, it's going to run the loop. So basically, it's going to create total 200 star in our background. And now if I jump into the browser and inspect this page, and show you this section tag, now you can see inside this section tag we have total 200 I element. Using I tag, we create these stars. Now they are not visible because we do not style these stars. We need to style all the stars. So let's back to the Visual Studio Code again. And remember, all the stars have random style. They are not same. Their size is different, their location is different, everything is different from each other. So let's display this star. So I'm going to jump into the style.css file, and here I'm going to target the I tag which is inside the section. Section I, then inside the curly braces, here first I'm going to use position. I'm going to make it absolute. Position absolute, and then I'm going to define background, and for background I'm going to use white color, so I'm going to use this value #FFF. Also I'm going to define border radius, I'm going to make them circles, so I use 50%, and I'm going to set this file. After set this file, if I back to my browser, you can see all the stars in different size and different locations. And now we need to glow this star. For that, we need to use box shadow. Now let's back to the Visual Studio Code, and here I'm going to use the property called box shadow, this one. And here I'm going to pass this box shadow value, and I'm going to set this file. After set this file, if I back to my browser, now you can see all the stars are glowing. Here you can notice the glowing effect of the stars. And now we need to work on the animation effect on the stars. For that, I'm going to create a new animation. Let me show you. So here I'm going to type keyframes at the rate keyframes, and our animation name is stars, and inside the curly braces at 0% duration, I'm going to put opacity 0. At that position I want to set opacity 0, then I duplicate this section, and here at 10% of duration I want to set opacity 1. Then at 90% of duration I want to set opacity 1 again. And at 100%, let me show you, at 100% of duration I want to set opacity 0 again. And I'm going to call this animation stars. So copy the animation name, and here I'm going to call the animation. First we need to provide the animation name stars, then we need to provide the animation direction. I'm going to pass linear, and I want to run this animation for infinite time, so I'm going to pass infinite, and I'm going to save this file. After save this file, if I back to my browser, now after save this file, as you can see, nothing is happened because we did not set animation duration. And remember, every time if we reload this page, it randomly creates the star in different position. You can see the result. And we are going to provide the duration using JavaScript because we want to glow the star randomly. We do not want to glow all the star at once. For that, we need to jump into the JS file. So here I'm going to create another variable, let, and our variable name is duration. Let duration equal to, I'm going to use map.random method, mat.random. Then I'm going to multiply with and here I'm going to multiply with 2 and semicolon to end this line. After that, I'm going to apply this random value to the animation duration. So I'm going to type star dot style dot animation duration. Animation duration equal to, here we need to use backticks. Basically it is tablet string method, then inside the $sign, then we need to pass $sign, and inside the curly braces I am going to provide duration, and here I am going to addition with duration 1, and then I am going to pass s, means seconds, and semicolon to end this line. So it's going to set random duration value to our stars animation. So after save this file, if I back to my browser, and now you can notice now stars are blinking, but it blinking randomly. And this is how we create this beautiful animation effect. Randomly we place this star in different position of this background. Also it blink this star randomly. If I reload this page, now you can see now it places all the star randomly in different positions. So I hope now it's clear for you how we can create this beautiful animation project. Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for our next project.